Welcome back, best friends. It's the DLS Cowboys podcast. Please smash the like button on your way in. We're out here in San Francisco, day 2 on Radio Row. We've had so much exclusive content courtesy of our friend Clarence Hill, and now we're going to have some wonderful draft content courtesy of our friend Bryan Broaddus, who you can find on Crown Global Media. Make sure you're following him on YouTube and on Twitter. On Twitter, there's no O, CRWN, but make sure you're following all that. You got some hair on the fan. First of all, welcome, Bryan, and thank you for hanging out with us.
Welcome to the fight, and I want to first off thank Clarence Hill for saving our afternoon. His content. So, appreciate the hustle there, man.
Hey, thank you, man. I'm working with you a long time.
Yeah, been a while.
Going back to Valley Ranch in the media
Yeah,
room.
you know what? It's been a while. You covered some bad football back then.
Still. One of the greatest Broaddus quotes. I don't know if I can say it. He told somebody to fire their trainer.
Fire the trainer?
Yeah.
Why?
Because they've been working out and then hadn't changed their shape.
Well, they were bragging. Say,
Fire your trainer.
A player?
No, it was
It was a media person.
another.
You know, we get back there, we start talking trash.
Listen, Al, don't get in a messy mobile seat and then don't drive it messy.
No,
I'm not driving. Who we talking
I'll
about?
say this.
he said, fire your trainer.
Guy was bragging about, like, man, I'm getting in shape, feeling good, all this, and looking good and all that. I go, man, you might need to fire your trainer. So
That's nice. So, Bryan,
yeah,
Jesse in the last segment was talking about how important it is to nail these draft picks for the
Yeah.
Dallas Cowboys. I mean, the fact that they've been missing often lately with big
Yeah.
picks. Would you agree with, in X number of years, whatever number you want to throw in, that this is the most important first round in quite a while?
yeah, just because you have so many needs with you look at defensively, how things are, we kind of talk about whether you need 5 starters, 6 starters. I mean, are they going to make up some ground in free agency? And that's really can kind of tell you, I'd love for them to go out and not bottom fish. I love the fact that I kind of feel like that, you look at Christian Parker, what he's done with the defensive, with these interviews, with the hires, maybe Shoddy involved too, that Jerry and Steven are staying out of that business. Where they need him to jump back in is when it starts to come, we need your money now.
You need your wallet.
We need your wallet. So jump back in. I think they're going to do that. I don't think they're going to bottom fish. And I think they're going to try and find ways to address as many of these needs as you can before you get to 12 and to 20 and kind of keep that board open, especially at pick 20 if they can.
Bryan, one of the things that I'm looking forward to seeing from Christian Parker and his staff is because we hear about it so much about developing talent.
Sure.
Right. And I think people say it as just a cute term, but don't really understand what that level of development means. And yes, do Patrick Surtain and Quinyon Mitchell need development? Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
But those aren't the guys that they're talking about truly developing.
Right.
Right. And so if you can kind of walk us a little bit down that path of the development that a coach, a defensive coordinator, position coach, especially for the Cowboys, what they need, building that depth, developing that depth, what does that look like from a scouting perspective?
I think that what we all know, we've been around the organization long enough to know that coaches have a big say in what goes on in personnel. And so if they're recommending somebody, maybe it's somebody they've had, maybe it's somebody that, that they've coached before, that they know, okay, these are the buttons that I can push in order. Now that's different from the guys that are already on the staff. I know as much as I work on the draft, I know we all follow the draft and do it. Jeff, I know, does a lot of stuff with the draft. Donovan Ezeraku. I watched Donovan Ezeraku in the ACC last year go against better offensive tackles and win more often than he did in the National Football League. And like there were some times where I've watched him in Cowboy games, and I'm not talking about going against Jordan Mailata and people like that. There are guys that he played against this year that he is better than. There's some ACC tackles that were better that he was consistently winning. We didn't see that. And with Aaron White-Cotton and it's like I'm piling on him, but in a way I am piling on him because to me, you can't have players like the Sam Williams and Fowlers and guys like that. You've got to find a way to get the absolute best out of them. And that's really what the development's all about. It's these coaches get real excited when you bring in one of their guys, or you say, oh, that's one of my draft. We'll bring in that. I can coach him and all that. And then we get 2-3 years down the road and they're not doing anything.
Yeah.
And there's the lack of development right there. And I think we've had that, I think that you look at how things have played out. I think in the offensive line, it's worked out pretty well for that, for some of the guys like Terrence Steele, in my opinion, not a draftable player, wasn't drafted, but, they were able to get, Joe Philbin was able to get something out of him. That's where you see the development of some players. And maybe it's not guys that are the highest rated guys or the highest drafted guys, but guys that are 4th, 5th, 6th round guys that all of a sudden. So until you get with these coaches and they tell you what kind of player you want, you're like, oh, wait a minute, I could find you that guy. I could do that. Then once you get it, now their responsibility is to get the best. And I think that's where coaches really miss the mark.
Yeah.
I don't think I think that's all of a sudden there's so much pressure on them to have to win right now that they play the guy that's not going to mess things up instead of trying to play a guy that might be a more talented player, but they're fearful about putting him out there because they haven't worked with him and they don't feel confident enough he can do the job.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm jaded, because I've been
covering this team for a long time. You get jaded.
I'm jaded.
I don't blame you.
I mean, I've seen so many.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
There's a lot of times where I was sitting in that room, with the Dallas Cowboys and the scouting stuff, and you and a Todd Archer and a Calvin Watkins and a Tim McMahon and those guys, you were right. People were like, they're being real sensitive about, well, why are they bitching about this? Why are they saying that? And I would say, they're right. They're right. They're absolutely right what we're going through. So I understand being jaded the way you are because you've seen a lot of it.
Yeah, and I was just going, and I got so many questions for you, draft. But just from the coaching standpoint, everybody has high hopes, right? We all got high hopes.
Hopium. We all sell hopium.
I remember when White Cotton came in here.
Yeah.
Everybody loved him. There was not one bad word said about White. This is a great hire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
A great hire.
Yeah.
Now we got Marcus Dixon, great hire.
Yeah. That's
so I can't get excited.
I don't blame you.
I remember when Matt Eberflus came. I remember when he was the linebackers coach, and everybody loved Matt Eberflus.
Yeah.
And
I don't blame you. No, I don't blame you. I don't blame people that covered the team. I don't blame the Cowboy fans. I don't blame Cowboy fans for being jaded at all. I mean, I know talking to people about coaches and what they do, and I've been with this guy, this, that, and the other, and you put it out there and you hope for the absolute best. I think that Dan Quinn, I thought they did some nice things with the coaching staff and some of the development of the players, and it reflected that. But yeah, you're right about Aaron Whitecotton. All you heard was great things. And like, hey, Aaron Whitecotton, we hardly knew you. 1 year you're like, hey, Robert Saleh's got a job. I'm out of here. See you, boys. That kind of thing. So,
and just going into the draft, I mean, it's all about making up for trading on Micah Parsons. I mean, you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
Oh, no, I think your show has been really consistent about that. I think your show has been consistent about. I know Jeff's talked a lot about the Micah Parsons. It's clear you did not have an edge rusher. It's clear you had.
I am on the record. I think Micah Parsons was good at football.
Yeah. That's absolutely
Micah
right.
Parsons sucks.
I wonder who in that room stood up and said, and this is the argument that I would have if I was, and this is one of the reasons why I got fired, because
you told people what you thought?
Well, yeah, because I stood up to Bill Parcells and me and, and then Sean Payton, we were like, we're talking about, quarterback play and all that. And Sean Payton, and Jim Garrett's going, he's the next Troy Aikman, and you're like.
Talking about the baseball player?
Yeah, we're talking about all these players that we had. And Sean Payton looks at me and goes, we're effed. We're effed. We're effed, Jerry. So, but see, that's what I'm saying, though. It's one of those things where you kind of get into this whole thing and, and you kind of feel like that the coaches, they have a say, and the scouts. But to your point, Jesse, there needs to be a lot more going on here with the drafting. It needs to be a lot better.
So you mentioned Donovan Ezeraku. Do you think the Cowboys can have a good defense with Donovan Izaraku as their best pass rusher? Or do you think that is something that has to be done?
I thought he could, Jeff. I really could. I thought that, like I said, when you're in that room and all of a sudden you let Micah Parsons walk out of the room, you have an idea like we could have two really outstanding pass rushers. I know, like on my board, he was like, I started looking at these guys like the third best pass rusher in the draft. Carter, Green, and him were guys I was seeing consistently win. And so I'm thinking, man, this guy, the learning curve is going to be small. He's going to be able to rush the passer. He's going to be able to attack the edge. He's able to get around the corner. He's able to flatten. All these things, he did not do all those things, and it looked like a different player. And so, if that's what he's going to be, if he's going to be a defensive end that plays the run and occasionally rushes the passer, you better go get the Micah Parsons guy. And that's where I'm saying in a room, somebody standing up and saying, you know what, listen, if we're going to be really good on offense, how are we going to close these games with no pass rush? How are we going to close these games? If you MFers want to trade Micah Parsons away, let's go on record and say, we've got no pass rush to close these games. We're going to score points, and we think our offense is good enough, but if we don't close games because we don't have a guy, we're going to lose a lot of games.
Yeah.
And I think that's where they're kind of looking at it right now. There's so many different ways they could go on defense right now with these two picks that they're about to make.
Yeah. All right, Broaddus, we got about a minute left.
Okay.
And so quickly, my last question is there a lot of pressure now put on Brian Schottenheimer? Because like you said earlier, this feels like the Joneses got out the way, allowed him to have his say in this.
They did.
If this doesn't go well next year, because I don't think he has a long release to let this thing play out. How much pressure does that put on Brian Schottenheimer and his job security going forward?
Yeah, I think Brian Schottenheimer all of a sudden got a big dose of reality when Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones at the podium said, yeah, Brian was on board with the Eberflus hire. And you see Brian Schottenheimer go,
yes, sir.
Okay.
I run Venezuela.
Yeah, okay. So now it's like, listen, okay.
Michael was unanimous.
If I'm part of this, now, I'm going to run the process how I want to run. So, yeah, I think there's always pressure. I do say this about the Joneses, unless it's a Dave Campo administration that was 5-11, 5-11, 5-11, 3 years, the Jones family do show a great deal of patience. Hell, I'm working at DallasCowboys.com for 3 years trying to fire Jason Garrett.
Right.
It took really 5 years to do that once it was all really said and done. So I do think there's some pressure on him to a certain extent.
Just quickly, because people want draft things from you. If you had to find a pass rusher at 12 or at 20, give me the name you like at either spot.
Well, if the guys like to say, it depends on what they do scheme-wise, though. At 12, you would love the opportunity for Bain, Messador, those kinds of guys. Bailey from Texas Tech. Depending on how these mock drafts are starting to fall, those are the top names. I think Howell from Texas A&M is a guy, maybe that's more of a name at 20.
Yeah. Thank you, Brian. We
Thank
appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, bro.
That's Bryan Broaddus. You can hear him on the Fan. You can hear him on Crown Global Media. Make sure you're following that. It does a favor to a man who's doing us a favor. So follow him on Crown Global Media.